Hey guys, Imran Nanlawala here from the Walaway, and we're going to do a quick book review on the Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. A great book, a great resource for any team. This book actually has very good guiding principles for any group of people who work together, whether that be a family, colleagues, or even classmates. I think it's a great resource and something that I've used and am continuing to use in my daily interactions with different teams. If you have any experience working with a team, you've probably seen that teams can become very dysfunctional very quickly. So what is it about teamwork that needs to be addressed? Teamwork is important because it is the biggest competitive advantage. What I like to do with people is ask them a question. Imagine if you had to put together a team and you were able to get any 4 or 5 people that you wanted to work with together on a team. Imagine if you were able to clone yourself and you had 4 or 5 of yourselves on the team. What would you be able to accomplish? What would you be able to do? The issue is teams are built with individuals, and these individuals have their own goals, desires, and more importantly, egos. We are imperfect beings. So to go straight into the book, the first dysfunction that Lencioni discusses is the absence of trust. Trust is probably the most foundational problem that you find in any team, whether that be a married couple, colleagues, or even roommates. The clearest sign of a lack of trust is when there's no debate going on, all right? So if you're having meetings and everybody's just nodding their head and agreeing with you, that's a problem, all right? The reason people are not debating is because fundamentally they do not trust each other. They do not feel comfortable with each other. They don't feel comfortable with voicing their thoughts and opinions. So why is trust needed? A great team does not hold back with each other. They argue, they debate, and they dialogue about issues, because when you do that, you get your opinions heard and you can discuss and agree upon what is the best thing to do. Now, the best way to model this is that if you're a leader in an organization or if you're a leader of a team, you have to be vulnerable. You have to show your team that it's okay to be vulnerable. This is difficult in this day and age because a competitive advantage that a lot of organizations look for, or something that's kind of taught to us since we're really young, is we have to be cutthroat. We can't show vulnerability. But I would say it's the opposite. If you're a leader and you show that you can be vulnerable, this goes a long way to establishing those same principles to your team. So what are some things you can do for this? Well, the book makes a few things clear. Number 1, set rules for meetings and be fully present and participate, fully engage in these meetings. Talk about what you really believe in, share your opinions. And if there's no trust, it leads straight into dysfunction 2, which is a fear of conflict. So when people don't trust each other, they're afraid of sharing their values and their beliefs. They're very afraid of conflict. So when you're afraid of conflict, you're going to have veiled and fake conversations. And when you're not sharing what you really believe in, there's going to be a buildup, and bam, an explosion. And that's not what we want. And you got to remember, all great relationships are built on conflict. Marriage, raising your children. Even if you look at some of the great sport teams, I like to point out Kobe and Shaq. They got a lot of done, but there's a lot of conflict. The thing about conflict is you need passionate and ideological debates. We don't need personal attacks, but you need to be able to discuss ideological issues to agree on what is best. Have emotion in your meetings. Have passion. Have good discourse. Again, no trust, fear of conflict, bam, straight to dysfunction number 3, lack of commitment. A lack of commitment means there's no buying into the decisions that were made. Why don't people buy in? Why is the team not willing to buy in? Well, guess what? If they don't trust you and they don't feel comfortable enough to voice what they believe in, they're not going to commit to decisions that you made as a leader. They're not going to commit to team decisions. They need to have their opinions heard, their voices heard and considered. This is why it's important to debate and argue. And when we don't have buy-in, guess what we don't also have? Accountability. People are going to avoid accountability. I don't trust you. I'm not comfortable enough to talk to you about what I feel in. I'm not going to buy into your decisions. And when something goes wrong, guess what? I don't care. It's not my fault. It's your fault. I'm not going to want to be accountable, nor am I going to want to hold others accountable, all right? There's not going to be any real commitment. Have you ever heard, well, I didn't want to do that in the first place? That's because people don't feel comfortable sharing their opinions. And what's the hard thing about accountability? It's really hard to hold each other accountable. It's not comfortable. It's difficult. Imagine having to call someone into your office as a leader and holding them accountable. But this is why, as a leader, you got to set the tone. You got to walk the walk. You got to inspire shared values. When you don't trust each other, when you have a fear of conflict, when you don't have buy-in, and you don't have accountability, you're going to put your own goals over the team's goals. It's going to be ego first, and there's going to be inattention to results. You're not going to care about what's important to the team. You might not be vested in the mission or the vision. And the only way that you can have people pay attention to the results is if you follow all the steps in order. You got to instill trust. You got to make people comfortable with sharing their opinions and getting into conflicts. You have to make sure people buy in. You have to make sure that there's accountability, and then you will have an attention to team goals and the mission and the vision, and people will not put their own goals over the team goals. So very quickly, what does a cohesive team look like? They trust each other, they engage in discussion and conflict, they commit to decisions and actions, they hold each other accountable, and they focus on collective results. Again, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni, great book. I suggest that you buy it. For a more in-depth review of this book, please follow and click on the link below. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave us your feedback. This is Imran Nanlawala from the Walaway. Thank you for listening.